All of us are so excited that you're here, finally. So before I ask my question, I just got to say this. We need you to come to Texas A&M University. I know that we're here at UT, but I'm not the only person that thinks that. Okay, so I don't remember if it was at SAS 2022 or at America Fest, but I remember you saying that UT Austin is the most leftist university you have ever visited. It's been a few years since you've been here. So, and I mean, you can elaborate on this. Does that still prove true? I know you said UC Berkeley,
Okay, so last time I...
Hey Veracity, welcome back to the channel. It's a girl VeraMoore, and I am back with another reaction video. Today I'm going to be reacting to Turning Point USA, and we have Charlie Clark debate scholar students at the University of Texas. Full video Q&A. Let's go.
I was here. That was something, I got to tell you. We had like a cameraman get assaulted, and it was all sorts of crazy stuff. That was 4 years ago. So I don't think this campus has gotten more conservative. But I think other campuses have got more liberal. So by process of elimination, you're no longer the most liberal school I visited. So I guess you'll take it, right? So no, but I will say this, though, and I'll repeat it. The administration coming in and allowing our dialogue to happen, hosting the event, campus police, that's very good. I don't get that at every school, I got to tell you. We got to fight for every single inch. And so that's good. I appreciate it. But I said this kind of out in the open when I was there. There is a lot of work to do here because some of the postmodern pablum that I was hearing it has some very, very serious implications. So the question, I guess, is also liberal versus leftist, right? Liberal, I'm fine with, okay? Liberals like free speech, live and let live, okay, fine, I'm not a liberal. Leftists really bother me. Leftists are the few people, not a lot, who came up today and they said, you don't have a right to be here, we want to kick you off campus. Okay. Leftists bother me. They're totalitarians, and they should bother you too. Instead of having debate or dialogue, they resort to force, or they try to intimidate you with, threats, or they try to play music while you talk. So there's a difference between liberals and leftists, and I hope UT at least remains liberal and never becomes leftist in that regard. Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. I just want to open up by saying I am a leftist, and I understand your perspective on
Thanks for being here.
But I did want to hear you out today, and ask a question. So you said that you believe that quarantine is the cause of our generation's distraught, essentially. And I believe that it is actually war. Like, we were born fresh out of 9/11, some of us around the time of 9/11. And I don't know, my father served in Afghanistan, so I don't have a very keen perspective of the United States, let's say. But I did want to hear you out on what you had to say. And I do believe we have some common ground in the fact that capitalism has failed my generation more than any other in recent years.
Yeah, I didn't quite say that, but I would say lack of free enterprise in some ways, but that's okay. You got most of it. So, so the lockdowns, not quarantine, right? That was the word I used. But I mean, I'll prove it to you. So the war thing aside, I mean, how many people in this room know someone that committed suicide or seriously harmed themselves in the midst of the pandemic? Just by a show of hands. That's a lot. I mean, the numbers show suicide visits were 50% higher among 12 to 17-year-olds during the same period in 2018. Psychiatric medication prescription went up, alcoholism went up, drug use went up, not to mention young people then re-entered an economy where everything was twice as expensive because we created a bunch of money because of the lack of productivity in the lockdowns. And so I think it's just inarguable that the lockdowns played a huge role, a massive role in really depriving a generation of the ability to congregate and to communicate.
Can I say my perspective?
Yeah, sure.
This is kind of personal, but I was considering taking my own life before quarantine, and I think discovering myself during quarantine is what saved myself. I have quite the opposite experience. I know that is unique in that case, but I would say that it's the opposite. I would say it's the opposite case, but that's just my personal perspective. I think there are far more worse things that my generation has been exposed to than the lockdown. And the inflation that you have cited during the lockdown, that's arguably not the fault of the current standing president, if you do believe that it is the fault of the current standing president.
Well, right. I mean, first of all, Biden created $5 trillion new dollars, not created, but he approved $5 trillion new dollars that was hyper inflationary. But I'll even give you that the other COVID relief funds never should have been approved. But look, it's not just the suicide issue. But first of all, thank you. We're glad you're here. We're glad you didn't make that decision. Life is beautiful and worthy of protection. I mean that. But it's from childhood speech impediment development. It's from asocial cues. It's from If you talk to any psychologist or child psychologist, they do not have the bandwidth to be able to even facilitate the amount of kids. And I know that you have an obviously exception experience, but that is the exception, right? I mean, it is self-evident that these lockdowns were unusually cruel. And you know who they were most cruel to? To poor families. It was the most cruel to people that didn't have extra bedrooms or high-speed internet connection to be able to keep up with this. The kind of Zoomification of American education was the hardest on the people that the regime said they want to help the most. And, I mean, so you're an economic leftist, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I mean, would you at least agree that for one of your passionate causes, which is billionaires getting wealthier, billionaires got $600 billion wealthier?
No, absolutely. And like your whole big tech sucks, is that what it says? I don't know what it says.
Yeah,
but
that's one of them.
I'm
but yeah.
absolutely on your side with that. Like, and I don't think enough conservatives understand that the left are equally against big business as they are.
Well, some leftists, right? I mean, it depends who you talk to.
I mean,
Like,
the loud minority, I would say, are the ones that are make you get the impression that we're not against big business.
yeah, and I'll just close with this. This is what drives me nuts about kind of the fixation on race all the time and all these other issues that I would prefer not to talk about, is that I think there's actually agreement on kind of how things went wrong the last couple of years. You blame capitalism, I'd blame more cronyism and big government intervention over a lot of different things. But I'm afraid that a lot of what we spend our time talking about are some of the more superficial issues rooted in race Marxism.
No, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
So-
I do believe classism is the biggest issue in America. Right?
Yeah, so let me ask you a question. As a leftist, you know, why is it that the American left, why is the American left allowing the conversation to be controlled by white liberals that just want to stay rich?
It's big business paying them off. It's not.
That's an honest answer. You are a true revolutionary. So God bless you, comrade. Thanks for being here tonight. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you. If you disagree, come to the line, whatever you guys want. Thanks.
All right, so abortion seems to be like a big topic these days, and I was actually at your booth earlier. I was just listening in, and that was a big topic there too. And so I guess I just had a question about that because at the booth, like whenever someone was asking you like why are we valuing the fetus, it kept coming back to human life, and like I didn't really understand what you meant by that because when you say human life. Human life by definition is an organism or a being that has human DNA. And so when the fetus only really has that connection with, you know, like fully grown adults or just like born children, what entitles the fetus to violate the property rights of the mother over her own body or to have the government do so on her behalf?
Does that baby have unique DNA?
Yeah.
So by your own definition, that should be worthy of protection, right?
No, I don't believe that DNA has moral value.
Oh, okay, got it. So when does human life begin?
Well, human life, I guess, if you say like an organism that is human species, by definition begins at conception.
Right. So then my position is that being that begins at conception is worthy of constitutional rights and
But
protection.
why? What moral value does simply being an organism, even if it's just a single-celled organism,
Yeah.
that has human DNA? What moral value?
Right,
comes from
because
that?
human beings are different. Human beings have the ability to have rational speech, to reason, not just consciousness, not just the ability to feel. Human beings are the only species that can not just feel pain and pleasure, but can tell the just from the unjust. Human beings are something that is so beautiful and so special, and of course I have many different reasons to believe this, but I'll make a natural law argument, that DNA will never exist again. It's distinct, and it is living. And if allowed uninterrupted growth, that human being will hopefully mature into something just like you have. And we're all abortion survivors, aren't we?
Okay, so you mentioned the rationality that makes human beings special. But that single-celled organism doesn't have that rationality yet. And so what qualifies the entirety of the human species to
Got it.
have
So
that
my 7-week-old doesn't have a lot of rationality yet. My baby girl eats and does other things and sleeps. Obviously you would agree, that 7-week-old has value.
Well, yeah, but I'm not coming from an argument of rationality. I'd come from more of like a self-ownership type perspective. And I simply don't believe that an organism that is inherently dependent, like on like violating another person's property rights in order to survive.
Right. So,
Requires
but
that.
I mean, my 7-week-old is very dependent on my wife and me. That doesn't mean I can just eliminate
Not
my
inherently.
7-week-old.
Like,
I'm sorry?
obviously, like the 7-week-old depends on like for practicality and living. But if we're talking about a moral perspective, right, just the capacity to have rationality, why
Right.
does that give it moral value?
Okay, but we're talking about two different things. I guess the question is, do you believe just because something is dependent on another, is that a reason that you could be able to eliminate that being?
If that being has to violate someone else's moral rights in order to do so, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So what moral rights or do you mean by that?
The right to have like autonomy of your own body. If another actor is violating those rights, then yeah, to remove it, I don't see a problem with that.
Got it. So bodily autonomy would be more important than another being being able to live a full life.
Yeah, I would value a being that has the right to property over one that doesn't have a right to property yet.
Got it. Just because the being is older and not in the womb and bigger.
And also because the being is a person and not just an organism.
Okay, so, but if that being's 1 week old, it's more than a single cell organism.
Yeah, but that person, that 1 week old still has like autonomy over themselves, at least at 1 week old. Like has an inherent like
Got it. Okay.
natural autonomy over
So this is where we have clarity but not agreement. Here's the problem, okay? Morality that built the West and the morality that I'm going to defend tonight is that 1 week old can't defend themselves, so stronger, bigger people not in the womb need to insert themselves to make sure that 1 week old is not terminated by people that are just happen to be older and bigger than them. Is that regardless of size, as soon as that life begins, which you agreed it starts at conception, that being deserves constitutional rights, uniquely and fearfully made. And it's the question of the morality of a society, of what we're willing to do when that being comes into existence. Because human life is special. Human life is different than dolphins. It's different than chimpanzees. We not just have the ability to reason, and I'm going to make an argument you might not agree with. Yes, human beings have a soul. And a soul is worthy of protection. I would even go as far to say that human being is made in the image of the Creator. I don't expect you to agree with that. Final point.
Okay, so I guess I would just believe that the only types of, at least the only types of humans that can have moral rights are ones that act as moral agents, and a single-celled organism that's living in a womb, or a multicellular organism that's living in a womb.
Can you
right?
explain what you mean by moral agents?
Moral agency?
Well, so if you don't have moral agency, then you could be up for elimination.
If you don't have, if you don't have moral agency, if you don't have like the ability to like, if you don't have ownership over your own body yet.
Yeah. So that,
then
by the way, that is babies until they're about 18 months old do not have ownership of their own body.
No, I would say that they do.
Okay. How would my 7-week-old feed herself if I just left her in the crib?
That's not ownership over your own body, though. The ability to move your body by instinct, even, is ownership over your own body.
Okay. So a 22-week-old baby in the womb moves all the time. You're contradicting yourself. You have to have a line. At 15 weeks, 6 weeks, there's a heartbeat.
I guess I would say that. Okay, so that was a good point.
Thank you.
He doesn't know what to say anymore. Like,
I guess I probably just need to clarify that.
bro, he literally just shut him up. He doesn't have anything else to say. Bro, what do you want to say? Like, what exactly do you want to say? I love the way Charlie, does his debate. I love the way he argues. No 8 words, they're just like, exchanging, basically like having a conversation, which is so meaningful. Bro, like, why would you say you don't have the ownership of your body? You cannot. Babies kick, they kick in the womb. These people, they act as if pregnancies just jump on them. Pregnancy does not just jump on people. When you are doing the do, you should expect that something will definitely come out of it. You don't want to get pregnant, so why do that stuff? Why not just abstain when you know you don't want to get pregnant? At the end of the day, you get pregnant, then you start endangering the lives of the poor innocent child. These babies, they're also human. Come on, let's go on.
What I mean by like self-ownership or moral agency, because that organism or that human, whatever, in the womb is still inherent. Like, in order to like survive, it's inherently biologically dependent, even if it does nothing, right? Is biologically dependent on the mother. And so if we talk about like
This
later
guy
on,
doesn't want to
like,
give up.
just I mean like I guess I don't want to go into that territory just like right now, right? So if we say, so like if we just talk about like early term like abortion, I simply don't see I don't have like, and I don't think that generally people see a moral value that is similar to even that of a newborn baby in something that is just conceived.
We have clarity. Thank you for your question, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey! Oh my God!
My question to you is, are you a nationalist? And if you are, do you think nationalism leans more towards loving your people or loving the ideas of your country?
Under the proper description, yes, I am a nationalist. Under the proper description, because I think there's a lot of smearing, and you should always value people more.
Great.
Thank you.
That was the quickest answer here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh my God!
Hi, good evening. I'll start by saying I'm a leftist, but I found common ground with you on abortion, and that I completely agree that, you know, whatever you want to call it, a fetus at whatever stage it is, it's alive.
Oh, I feel like crying right now.
There's no contention on that front. My concern, though, and I want to hear your perspective on this, is here in Texas we have the strictest abortion ban in the whole country. There's no exception for rape or incest or for the life of the mother after 6 weeks. My concern is that the government is mandating that people carry out their pregnancies even when it goes against their own life and their own well-being. I can take an example of if somebody's threatening to harm you, you have a right to self-defense. Why not have this?
So just imagine these people, they act as if doing the do, let's call it doing the do. They act as if doing the do is not a choice. It is a choice. All right, it is a choice. You chose to do it. So the fact that you chose to do it, you should be ready. You should be prepared for the repercussion. Be prepared for the you should be prepared for whatever comes next. Okay, so do not blame it on anybody. Don't say, oh, it's a violation against my body. You didn't know that there was going to be a violation. You're going to be a violation. Come on, don't do that. So the poor child should be the one to carry the whole blame. But you were alert. Your soul, your mind, your body, they were alert when you were doing the stuff. And now the child will be the one to be blamed. And the guy says, he says, you know, when the guy first spoke, he was like, I'm a leftist, but I agree with you on abortion. He brought tears to my eyes, honestly. Then the father went to say, no, I didn't mean that I'm against abortion. Guy, don't do that. What are your thoughts on this, guys? What do you think about this video? Drop a comment down below. I totally enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, go to the give it a huge thumbs up. Please share this video. If you're new to the channel, join VeraCity. Hit the subscribe button below, turn on the post notification bell so that you can always be the first person to know whenever a new video drops. And that, guys, see you in my next video. I love you. Bye, guys.